Now, some people never accept the fact that they are divorced. And there is one word I want to bring on board in this scenario, and that is bitterness. Now, how does bitterness affect the aftermath of divorce? To the extent that some of the parents, whether the man or the woman, can be bitter to the extent that they can even use the children against each other. And this sometimes can bring a lot of confusion and misunderstanding, not between you and your former partner, but even including the children. How do you deal with bitterness?
I think, firstly, if someone has been divorced or a breakdown of a relationship, I think it's a good thing to take a view in terms of where they're at, okay? Because there's some people who might have let go and think, okay, it's fine, I'll deal with it in that way. There are other people who are really quite still bitter about things. If anyone at all gets to that point where, it's a lingering sort of bitterness, then I would say sought professional advice and help. Because, we don't want to talk about counseling and professional advice, but it does help and it does work to unpack some of the issues that people are dealing with. Because, like I said, each case of divorce, when there's a children or when there's kids involved, it's very different. What I don't encourage is using the children as a weapon or a tool. I think, like I was saying to my better half, that at one point in time, whether you were married, whether you decided to adopt, whether you were single, whether you are married, single, there must have been something between you and that other person that you got to a point where you decided to have a child together. So in terms of civility and in keeping the mental well-being of both the parents, but also the children, if they get to a point where they're really bitter, and the other person is not playing part, I think there's something that, you go for mediation or counseling or some sort of intervention. But having said that, I know of people who the other partner doesn't want to play ball at all. What do you do? Mm-hmm. So bitterness, it's a very strong word, because I think sometimes people think they feel hard done by. Yes, they feel hard done by. But I think the most important thing for me in all of this is the children, or is the child. The child is the priority. Always keep the child in the center of everything. The child is the priority at all times. Sometimes you might find the other partner wanting to do things differently, bring certain conversations, or use the blame game and all of that. For me, I always keep to the course. So I'm always talking about the child. We don't have any extra conversation. Not that I'm bitter or anything like that. We don't have any sort of communication that will make him feel a certain way in terms of our relationship, except for our son. And that's what we're dealing with, and that's it. So I think people have to work out where the bitterness is coming from. Also, how do they deal with that bitterness for themselves? Because if they don't, it's inevitable. The children are going to get older. They're going to look for the other parent. Life is going to happen, and how will they now, the other person, whether it's the mother or the father, how will they deal with themselves? So when we say bitterness, I would always say every situation, every breakup, every marriage or whatever's happened has a very different pattern. There's the general patterns, but it has a very, very different situation. So we have to look at them individually, but also what I would say, keep the child at the center of it. If you're not having any reproach from the other person, then, just kind of go with the flow with them. But actually, I think for me, it's about boundaries, because sometimes people get bitter, not because of the divorce or the breakup or anything. If they feel they've been led a certain way in the relationship or in terms of managing the child's well-being, and then things have changed, they can twist easily. So that's why it's very important that we actually are very clear in terms of our communications with our exes, with our baby fathers and baby mothers and all of that, to make sure, because the children are also watching us. The children are watching us and they're learning from us. It's not what you tell them, it's what they know and the conversations that you're not having with them.